Ponce De Leon, who served on Columbus's second voyage, is credited with the discovery of what was thought to be the island of Florida in 1513. De Leon's expedition never penetrated beyond the coast, and even though he is thought by many to have been searching for the fabled Fountain of Youth, his death from an Indian arrow during his second expedition left the Florida peninsula largely unexplored. Some believe the Fountain of Youth legend stems from early native descriptions of Silver Springs. Florida was a dangerous frontier outpost, and compared to bountiful Spanish acquisitions in places like Central America and Mexico, was valued only for its strategic position as the portal to the Gulf of Mexico. In 1561, the King of Spain decreed that he was no longer interested in colonizing Florida. In 1763, the British took over and attempted to lure settlers by proclaiming lands west of the Appalachians to be off limits. The ensuing years brought wrangling between European powers, the infant United States, and even the short-lived Republic of West Florida. Understanding the strategic importance of this inconvenient international boundary, Andrew Jackson made 2 unauthorized invasions into Florida during the War of 1812. Later, after becoming territorial governor when Florida entered the U.S. in 1821, Jackson realized the value of stable family settlers and made his first outreach to lure plantation owners from nearby southern territories. But Jackson had no love for the Florida natives and urged that the Creek or Seminoles be forcibly removed to reservations. By 1828, the Florida Legislative Council was in agreement. They urged Congress to remove all Seminoles from the Florida Territory. The Treaty of Paynes Landing was negotiated in 1832 just downstream from the Eureka Bridge crossing. Even though agreement was reached with Seminole Chief Micanopy, this set in motion the events that ultimately angered Chief Osceola and thrust Florida into the Second Seminole War. Florida was the second state to withdraw from the Union in Civil War times. The 1,000-mile coastline was indefensible, so the Union Army was able to occupy coastal port cities at will. The northern invasion penetrated only as far as Palatka. But the infiltration that followed the war was an influx of adventurers, Confederate fugitives, settlers, homeless from other defeated southern states, and entrepreneurs on a scale not seen since gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in 1849. Florida's transportation system had lagged behind other southern states until after the Civil War. Its rail system was a mere skeleton. The post-war explosion of steamboat travel came first due to the abundance of waterways. This was later followed by the laying out of a more mature railroad system serving Florida's first citrus empire. Narrow steamboats, specially fitted with inboard paddle wheels, were used to navigate the thin, winding river. The excursion upriver to Silver Springs was very popular, enjoyed by many of the day's dignitaries such as Ulysses Grant, Thomas Edison, and Mary Todd Lincoln. The steamer routes were the whistle stops of their day. There were 97 possible stops along the 134-mile Ocklawaha route, including places with such names as Poor Man's Labor, Hart's Secession Camp, and Osceola's Old Field. The river route could not be completed during daylight hours, so the narrow river boats were outfitted with huge wood-burning platforms to light their way. Many of the river stops, though abandoned today, still appear on modern maps. Of course, the popularity of the Ocklawaha steamer route tapered off after rail service penetrated the interior to Silver Springs. Crop-killing freezes of the 1890s also contributed to the demise of the citrus industry, pushing it farther south and out of reach of the Ocklawaha Basin. The Ocklawaha then fell into decades of obscurity. In the early 1960s, the Army Corps of Engineers quietly began the long-enamored project of building a waterway from coast to gulf across northern Florida. The idea had been popular for well over a century, with Army surveys having been conducted as early as the 1820s. An attempt was even made to drain the Okefenokee Swamp in 1891, and an early canal startup under FDR had stalled during the Depression. Though originally intended as a sea-level ship canal, the Corps of Engineers plan ultimately incorporated numerous locks and dams and included reshaping much of the Ocklawaha Basin. Rodman Dam was completed in 1968, along with its associated 150-foot wide channels and 600-foot locks. Faced with a monumental legal challenge, President Richard Nixon halted the project in 1971. It has remained essentially unchanged since that time, even though there has been an ongoing effort to remove the dam and restore the original meandering Ocklawaha riverbed.